Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is one of my dear brothers, Ryan Blume. Ryan is a visionary artist, a feather crafter, and an aspiring musician. Ryan, it's such an honor to have you on. Welcome on, brother.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for
Grateful,
sure.
grateful to
Yeah,
be
man,
here.
it's an honor to have you on, and today we're gonna talk about Ryan's awakening journey. We're gonna talk about connection with feathers. We're gonna talk about Aniwa, which is an event that we met at, and spiritual community. So, Ryan, we'd love to hear about how the awakening journey started for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Peter. And
Sure.
yeah, it's a good first question to really open it up. Um, yeah, I think, from early on as a child, I think maybe like most of us, I was really connected to nature and to feeling, to love, to my heart, to the energy of wonderment of like looking at nature and being amazed. Like I collected tons of like reptile books and insect books and rocks and feathers, and I was like really amazed by the beauty and the biodiversity of nature.
Absolutely. I was the same way for sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the things that we really connect on even from the get-go is just like that stoked sense of like looking at a beautiful feather, looking at nature and just being in awe and not knowing, not being like, oh, that's just a rock, that's just a feather, but really being in the witnessing the miracle of creation, of nature.
For sure.
So that was there really strong as a child.
I got a question. Were you more into like stuffed animals than action figures?
Yeah, it's funny. I just told my girlfriend yesterday because my mom had told me like a week or so ago. She was like, because I have two older brothers, and she said, your two older brothers collected a lot of action figures, but you didn't. I collected like not so much stuffed animals, but like rubber snakes and lizards. Like I had like like a collection of fake reptiles, and some of them stuffed, but a lot of them rubber or plastic.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
less
I always had stuffed animals like actually with me all the time. Like I had like three or four that I would rotate, you know. And I remember as a kid, I had like a little twin bed, right? And I would put all my stuffed animals in a circle around me, and then I would sleep sleep in the middle of it. And yeah, I just always liked animals, and like anything with nature and my jam back then, like third, fourth grade, was my Littlest Pet Shop. Did you ever play with that?
It rings a bell, but I can't picture exactly the setup.
They had like a whole zoo setup that you could get, and different animals. You could get like a tree with monkeys, and it
Uh,
was like the OG one before they
right.
like made them with big eyes, and they looked a lot more like natural, right?
Mhm.
Like the real animals. And when they came out with the new ones, I was like, no, this isn't it. So yeah, I really love I from yeah, for sure. I can totally resonate and connect with that connection with nature and animals for sure.
Yeah. And so I'd say like coming into puberty and maturity, and I started getting interested in women and then sports and then getting my driver's license, started getting interested in cars and sort of more American culture, mainstream sort of things, natural, I would say, and to some degree. And so I lost sort of that connection. I feel a bit in some
Mhm.
of my teenage years,
Yeah.
um, and didn't really have any sort of spiritual understanding. It was really just, yeah, chasing women, chasing popularity, trying to get really muscular. It was really superficial sort of things kind of took over.
Right.
Um, and I should also say that drawing and creativity was a big part of my process as a child. So I draw, make up my own reptiles, make up my own, draw. I even did a contest in one of my classes in third grade of like who could make the most fun mixed up combination of animals by drawing, and then like, gave an award or something like that.
Dude, I
Uh,
did the same thing, and Pokemon came out in sixth grade for me, and like they had a contest in one of the magazines, and it was like submit your Pokemon and get
wow.
like some free cards or something, and like I just started going for it, like drawing all these different creatures, and they all had some sort of like defense mechanism, right? And so they could, because in Pokemon they battle each other, so. Yeah, it was interesting, and what's really wild is my dad just brought my original drawings that I gave my grandma as a little kid, and she kept
Wow.
all of them. So he gave, like, my grandma passed 3 years ago, and he gave me this binder full of all the drawings that I did, and yeah, it's such a it's beautiful to like connect to that innocence and that joy of just making it just to make it, not caring how it comes out, just like that pure essence of art, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's like one of our main connections to spirit is that creative energy, that just intrinsic joy of creating and seeing what comes out of creation, not knowing, not having some clear destination, but just that creative, playful act. And
Yeah.
so like art classes were a big thing for me growing up. But then yeah, during this little period of time where I was like, yeah, I lost some of that innocence naturally growing up and going through puberty. Um, and so yeah, then skipping a few years, and then in college, started my freshman year at University of Iowa as pre-business.
Hmm.
It was just like, people ask me, what are you going to do with your life? It was like, oh, become a businessman, make money or something. It was like I didn't have any real purpose or direction. It was just in the wheel of work and make money, and this the matrix sort of situation.
Hmm.
And my freshman year in college, I started smoking cannabis.
Hmm.
And in some ways I'm grateful that I that I started to find that relationship a little bit later in life, as far as maybe 19 or 20 as opposed to 13, 14. Everyone's
Yeah.
journey is different. I still was developing and maturing a lot, but that relationship with cannabis um, really helped me get in touch again with my creative spirit and with, I would say, my heart, my sense of feeling, my in some way, maybe a feminine aspect where I was really in this masculine area. I'm talking just powerlifting and alcohol and treating women like objects. I mean, it was really going down that route of deep into some of the shadow sides of maybe the masculine.
Hmm.
And the cannabis, I felt like helped me find some balance, helped me get in touch with my gut. Like, well, how does my gut feel? It was like almost every time I would smoke the cannabis, all of a sudden I would start feeling my stomach and I would start feeling, oh my God, I'm like holding, like
Mm.
clenched in my gut.
Hmm.
And so my would all of a sudden I would start to feel, I would relax my stomach and I would get inspired. I'd pick up the pencil and I would start drawing and just like channeling. I didn't have any, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna draw a tiger, I'm gonna draw this. It was the act of doodling in a way where the pen is just going and then all of a sudden something starts revealing itself.
Hmm.
And then I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. And then I would add to it. And then something would all of a sudden like a piece would appear, and it was felt like the first time I was starting to get in touch with forces that were what felt like beyond me, or an intelligence that was moving through me that was greater than me. But this was new, and I didn't have a sense. I grew up very atheist,
Hmm.
very connected to nature. In some ways, my mom was like, Mother Nature is God, but in a way, in a very science way, not Mother Nature, Pachamama, a deeper intelligence, living being within the planet, but a cold, more analytical type of relationship.
Yeah.
And so to start to have creative forces move through me and start to feel like synchronicities and and things were happening opened me back up to a sense of spirituality,
Hmm.
a sense that, oh my God, there's some greater mechanisms in the universe, something that is starting to awaken and that is calling my attention. And I no longer was just like focused, oh, I want to make money and I want to continue down this route of business. All of a sudden, it reminded me like you were always a good artist growing
Hmm.
up. That was something that I was recognized for. Like in
Hmm.
my art classes, the teachers were like, "Oh, this is good." And in other classes, maybe English classes, certain other classes, I wasn't as proficient. And this just reminded me, oh yeah, you were in some ways this was something you were proficient at. And now in college, this is an opportunity to decide what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Like what do you
Right.
want to do? And the relationship with cannabis, which really felt like was my first plant medicine that helped me heal, to get in touch with my emotions, my feminine side, and my creativity. That really took me down the route of then changing my major from business to art, which I think was
Beautiful.
a monumental shift in my life and in a choosing, an initial choosing of like my spiritual path, combining it with my career, really trying to weave everything together, be like, this is something I want to pursue.
Hmm. For
And
sure.
pretty much right after I changed my major to art, I got into a street fight.
Oh, wow.
It was like almost blacked out drunk and walking to the bathroom in a bar, knocks shoulders with some guy. He turns around. We both just start barking at each other. Like, no, I mean, no idea who this guy is.
Right.
All of a sudden his buddies are backing him up. And then I got some buddies behind me. We're talking. Words are exchanged. Like I can barely remember what exactly happened, but from what I recall, like he stepped forward, and then I hit him.
Hmm.
I threw the first punch. Like I guess I may have felt like he was like stepping forward to do something. I don't know. It was not. Didn't need to. I feel like ultimately I didn't need to throw that punch. It was one punch. I hit him in his front teeth. I cracked his front tooth, and his broken front tooth severed a tendon in my hand.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like you can't really see, but basically, like from here to here, I have a scar, and his severed tooth cut the tendon that extends the pinky.
Wow.
I literally had my tendon hanging out of my hand. I like ran out of the bar because I called security, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I run outside. I'm like hiding in an alley. I find some of my buddies and I show them, I'm like, guys, look at my hand. And they're like, oh no, it was like a piece of spaghetti hanging out of like a 3-inch gash in my hand and my tendon. And a cop comes up because they were looking for me. He sees, he's, let me see your hand, grabs my hand and just handcuffs me. And ultimately they released me to the hospital instead of the jail because of the damage to my hand. They couldn't take me to jail. They take me to the hospital to get it fixed.
Hmm.
And when I'm in the hospital, they're giving me morphine, intravenous morphine, for like two or 3 days because they tried to fix my hand. They couldn't fix it. They sewed me up. Like, you need to see a specialist. But in the meantime, we're gonna feed you morphine like on a drip. I didn't need it.
Right.
I'm in that much pain. I remember this burly motorcycle nurse dude coming in at like 3 a.m. and he's like, I'm gonna give you a bigger dose than the other nurses. Like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay, whatever. And I remember just like drifting off into like an opioid abyss. And so over
Hmm.
the course of like 3 days, I basically got hooked on this stuff and not realizing it.
Yeah.
So when I got out of jail, freshman in college, and within the course of like the next 12 hours, I go into an opioid withdrawal and a panic attack. The first time I've ever experienced panic and dread and not wanting to be me. I mean, a couple weeks earlier, I thought I was the shit. I thought I was like, hot shit or whatever. And then here I am thinking like, you just changed your major to art, and now you like I didn't even know if I could draw again. My whole hand was like wrapped up in like a brace. I had to go check myself into jail and then like go see a hand specialist somewhere down the line to see if they could fix my hand. So all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my God, my life. Like who am I? What am I doing?" Like
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just everything crumbled. And for the
Yeah.
first time I didn't want to be me. I didn't like myself, you know. That was in a way like a rock bottom that I needed to hit
Hmm.
that really helped catalyze my spiritual journey and the humility and the suffering that I feel like usually sort of um, is a preface to the awakening, to a
Hmm.
deeper phases of the awakening, really needing to suffer, needing to go into the mud before the lotus can start to blossom.
Yeah,
So
for sure. So you hit this rock bottom. So where did it go from there?
yeah, so it took me a while to sort of rebuild my sense of self and like in a way my confidence.
Hmm.
And so, for a while there, luckily they were able to fix my hand.
Hmm.
And I was able to continue to draw and to continue to pursue this new degree, my new the art degree that I had chosen.
Hmm.
And I felt like in some it's to some degree that was a big check of my masculine energy. It was like a big shift in my life. I went from being very hyper masculine into fighting and working out and girls and this to all of a sudden like just drawing, smoking a lot of cannabis, getting in touch with my feelings, getting in touch with my creativity, and kind of losing in some way masculine, the masculine gifts that I had.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was interesting, and maybe we'll jumping ahead a bit, but this may be just where we're going with it is. After I graduated college and I got my art degree and I really refined my painting skills during those years I was always able to draw very precise and realistic. And during that time, I got the skills to basically to paint realistic, to paint photorealistic, or to really be able to, yeah, turn my drawings into paintings and
Hmm.
scale up. And my senior year of college, I started practicing yoga. And so it was like less weightlifting, more getting in touch with stretching and breathing
Hmm.
and then yeah, working through injuries that I had accumulated from all the weightlifting and sports early on. And so by senior year of college, I'm practicing yoga every day. I'm drawing and painting every day. I'm working a lot with cannabis, maybe relying a bit too much on it at that point.
Hmm.
Um, and so graduated college 2012, um, and moved into Chicago back. I grew up in suburbs of Chicago, went to University of Iowa, and then I moved back home. I moved into the city with my older brother. We shared an apartment,
Hmm.
and I introduced him to yoga, and we started practicing yoga together. It
Oh,
was
that's
really
awesome.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. My brother and I, we didn't get along so well as kids. He's a little less than 2 years older than me, so we
Hmm.
were pretty close in age. And we fought quite a bit, but in coming home from college, just on like winter vacation or on certain breaks, we would smoke cannabis together.
Hmm.
It was really healing for us as something to do, to commune together with the plant and then just talk, have deep conversations, and then shared with him about yoga, and then we started practicing yoga together. And so it became really a beautiful relationship. We kind of became best friends there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so we would ride our living together in the city of Chicago, my first year back from college. We would ride our bikes to the yoga studio almost every day and practice. And then we both felt inspired to do a yoga teacher training,
Nice.
deepen our yoga. And also at this point, I got my art degree and I was pursuing my art, but on a very entrepreneurial level. Like I didn't want to go into marketing. I really wanted to be a fine artist or find my voice and sell my art.
Hmm.
But I wasn't sure exactly how to, what the entry point was. And then also practicing yoga. So I started working for Lululemon, just selling yoga clothes. And also their business model, they were very open to also like sharing your skills. And so they allowed me to do some art. I did some paintings for a few of the stores. And so it was a bit of a where yoga and my art could sort of be expressed, working retail at Lululemon, getting some money
Nice.
that way. Yeah. So it was an interesting merger of those things.
Yeah.
And so my brother Troy and I are doing the yoga teacher training. And at this point, I'm doing a lot of yoga inspired paintings and drawings. Like I'm drawing people in different postures, but also showing their chakras and sort of their energy field. And I'm starting to get in touch with some of the deeper levels of yoga. First it was about stretching, relieving sort of pain and injury prevention, very physical. And then in the yoga teacher training, we're starting to like part of the regimen or the training is meditating every day, reading yoga sutras, getting into some of the more moral and ethical elements of the yoga practice, and being able to sit in stillness with a quiet mind,
Hmm.
and starting to be aware of the breath. And so some of these things were starting to awaken, and I was starting to express them in my artwork. And a lot of organic shapes and lines, a lot of fluid motion, also incorporating some of the nature inspiration. And I hadn't worked with ayahuasca at this point. I was just working with the cannabis.
Hmm.
Um, and I had stickers of my art, and I showed the stickers of my art to the owner of the yoga studio.
Hmm.
And he's looking at the images, and just after a few, he looks up at me and he's like, "You've ever drank ayahuasca before?"
Mm.
And I said, "No, I haven't, but I've heard of it." And one of my buddies at the time had just gotten back from Peru. Um, this could have been a week or 2 weeks before this meeting with the yoga teacher that I'm telling you about now. Um, and my buddy comes home after having drinking in Peru,
Hmm.
a couple ceremonies. And when he came over to my place in my apartment, and I opened up the door and I saw him, and he had lost like 20 pounds just from being in the jungle doing diets and drinking. And I had I had a few weeks prior to that. I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but I went to a gong bath, my first gong bath, and in this gong bath, I had a very intense Kundalini awakening.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
that at the time I didn't even know the word Kundalini. I had no idea about Kundalini awakening. I had been practicing yoga now for maybe 2 years, but never heard of Kundalini yoga. And in this gong bath, I had a very intense energetic awakening. Um, that was, I won't go into too much detail, but connected to my breath, and it was building, and it felt like a spirit was inside of me, awakening and moving everything and opening up my spine. It
Wow.
was, I mean, it was so intense. And when I first encountered the energy, and it was building the way an orgasm builds, and I was like, oh my God, this is building toward something, like a moment, like there's gonna be a release or some breakthrough that I don't know what that is.
Hmm.
And so when that Kundalini awakening was happening in the gong bath, and I didn't know that's what it was, but I was breathing deeper into it, the energy was increasing, and then all of a sudden the thought hit me like, whoa, this could be you could be losing your mind. Like you all of a sudden it flashed before my eyes, like them carrying me out of that room in like a straitjacket,
Oh,
basically.
wow. Hmm.
Yeah. And so I went from in my mind thinking like, oh my God, like this could be, you're about to become maybe a Buddha. Like maybe this is what you've been reading about. I've
Hmm.
been reading all these texts about enlightenment. It made sense on an intellectual level, but I'd never had what felt like all of a sudden something was going to be born within me. This was like something you're about to either die and be reborn. I didn't know, but all of a sudden the thought crept in that maybe you're about to go schizophrenic. Maybe this is what happens when people go lose their shit.
Right.
And so I aborted the Kundalini awakening. I basically opened my eyes, I stopped my breathing pattern, did everything possible to stop what was about to happen.
Hmm.
Uh, about to
So
feel.
it wasn't like a lightning bolt shot from the bottom of your spine up. It was more gradual than that.
It's more gradual. Yeah, it first started with a presence basically like in my heart, and I almost at first I thought it was there were two sisters holding the gong bath together, and I thought it was one of the sisters because they're around my age and there was some level of attraction, so I thought, oh my God, one of these sisters is like a witch and she entered into my body and she's like basically possessing me because that's what it felt, almost like a feminine energy all of a sudden was in me, like taking me over.
Right.
So I was I had no idea. I was trying to think of what's my rational mind's like, what is going on,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a build and it was crescendoing. And so I stopped it. I basically, instead of finishing the orgasm, like halting it,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
And then I broke out in sweat and like a fever. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, yeah, I mean, and then just being like, what the fuck just happened to me? Like, did that
Yeah.
happen? Did that happen to everybody in this room? And as soon as it ended, I turned to my brother. I'm like, bro, like something crazy just happened to me.
Mhm.
Like, did this
Yeah.
happen to you? And he's like, no. He's like, maybe you had an allergic reaction to one of the essential oils. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like, okay, like I can't talk to you about, or like you're not going to be able to receive me.
Hmm.
And that really all of a sudden, like I left that gong bath a changed person, like all of a sudden afraid, like something had just major had opened up, and I was curious and I was afraid.
Yeah.
It was really, really unsure of what happened and what was happening to me.
Hmm.
And so skipping back to where I was at, when my friend came back from Peru, I opened the door to my apartment and I saw him. It activated the Kundalini energy within me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because he was carrying that frequency in
Yeah,
his field.
it was like the ayahuasca within him all
Right.
of a sudden activated the Kundalini, and I was like, okay, like what is going on? Like there
Just
is
look
some
like just seeing him or hugging him. What do you think?
not just his very presence, just opening the door in I'm sure we probably hugged and that might have been it, but it was just the very presence and the engagement of like our energy fields.
Wow.
Yeah, so I knew something was powerful there, and this was like it was just one synchronicity, one message after another that
Hmm.
felt like, okay, I'm on like a treadmill that's pulling me towards something that now I was before I was a seeker, I was seeking something, and now something is seeking me, you know?
Now it's here.
Now it's here. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you gotta deal with it or, figure
Yeah.
out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so when the yoga teacher's looking at my stickers and he goes, "So you've ever drank ayahuasca?" And this was, let's say 3 weeks after the Kundalini awakening, 2 weeks or a week after my buddy comes home and reactivates the Kundalini. And now this guy's asking me if I ever drank ayahuasca.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, like something is, yeah, I gotta follow this. This is, and at that point, to some degree, I'm trying to remember the exact timeline of things because my brother and I, let's say this is just around that time we're in Florida on a family vacation, a week, 2 weeks after this initial Kundalini awakening when I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I did, when I got home that night, I searched online, breathing synced with heart rate, with energy coursing up and down the spine, and immediately the words Kundalini awakening, Kundalini rising, and I start reading about it, and I'm like, okay, thank God, there's an answer.
Yeah.
I'm not just crazy. Like this is an ancient technology, and then in fact, like this is why people practice yoga. Like if
Yeah.
this is like this is supposed to happen in a way.
Right.
And so it was relieving to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then I'm in Florida with my brother. We're in Barnes and Noble, the bookstore. It's a two floor bookstore, a really big one. And I'm on the first floor. He's on the second floor, and he calls me. He's like, "Ryan." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "I got a book for you." He drops from the second floor down to the first floor for me to catch the book. And the book is called Kundalini Rising.
Hmm.
And so it was funny. My brother, who in pretty much the whole time was trying to, tell me like I was imagining it. I mean, even days after as roommates, and I'm like, bro, no, like this is crazy. You gotta, and he's also practicing yoga in this. So I'm like, but he's very scientific, very analytical minded. But anyhow, he at least enough recognized when he saw that book that I needed it, dropped it to me, and I bought the book, and it was really helpful because it was like 15, 20 different people talking about their Kundalini awakening experiences, personal experiences, and then some deeper ancient texts on it, and very kind of nice, thorough read on it
Hmm.
that helped me quite a bit start to understand. And so then it turned to me then chasing it again.
Hmm.
Because then I was like, oh boy, like no, this you stopped you could have become enlightened in that moment and you stopped it because of your fear.
Hmm.
But I will say also in this book it did speak to the dangers of Kundalini awakening,
Mm.
especially when they're brought on with plant medicine or breath work or a combination of tools where somebody could be sort of forcing or trying to expedite, or you don't know, like in our cult, like in certain cultures from very early on, there's an understanding about spiritual path awakening, about Kundalini energy. So there's a culture that holds it with respect
Hmm.
with certain practices. In our Western culture, and even within the yoga culture, I went to my studios that I've been going to talk to these people after. I'm like, guys, do you know about Kundalini energy or Kundalini awakening, Kundalini yoga? And these yogis that have been practicing 15, 20 years, vinyasa, hatha yoga, they're like, oh, don't entertain that. That's woo woo. That's nonsense. Like I could tell
Wow.
they they had no idea like the depth of the yoga practice and the things that can happen. They were so just caught in the postures, caught in the superficiality of yoga. And I was like, wow, where can I really find people to talk to about this? Where's the community? And I did find a Kundalini yoga studio in Chicago.
I
And
was
so I
just gonna ask you about that. That's what I would have recommended because yeah, that's really interesting because that's I'm a Kundalini yoga instructor and I went through that whole journey and part of my soul, maybe like your soul, was seeking something, and I kept trying all these different types of yogas, and I'm like, that's not it, that's not it. I tried like six different types, and then when I found Kundalini yoga, my Kundalini energy shot up right before I went to that class, and then
Wow.
in the class, on that first class, my third eye opened up, and I started seeing all my past lifetimes with this woman that I was in love with at the time.
Wow.
And then I walk out of the yoga studio. There's this woman sitting there who's like a medium, and I'm like, It's been like 3 years. I broke up with this woman. I'm still feeling all these crazy things. We had all these crazy experiences. She's like, real nonchalantly, she's like, "That's your twin flame." And I'm like,
Mm.
"What?" And she's like, "Go look it up." She's like, "Go look it up." And it like, it was like those things all came together in like one day, like a couple of days, and it was like, "Whoa, what just happened?" But so I can totally relate to how like jarring, and when you don't know anything about it, and back then it was like 2013, 14, nobody was talking about it, at least nobody I knew,
Right.
and it was just so fresh and new, and I was like, what's going on here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause
So I don't know many people that have actually had their Kundalini energy shoot up. Like I know some of my teachers of Kundalini yoga have talked about how there's techniques to do it, but there's very few people that I know in the spiritual community that have actually had that experience. And it's interesting because so many people talk about it, so many cultures, so many teachers, but not so many people actually experience it, you know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and therefore it can be hard to find, I don't know, to find the right people to really talk to or relate to or feel really heard and understood about it,
Yeah.
you know?
So did they give you any more information when you went to the Kundalini Yoga studio?
Um, well, I at least I felt a bit more seen and understood.
Hmm.
Um, and when I was working at Lululemon, also there's a community board where we had information about different yoga studios in the city. And a woman was at the community board, and as an employee, you got to go meet them and talk to them. And she had asked me, she's like, "Do you know of any Kundalini yoga studios?" And I had either just heard about this one, or I'm not even sure yet. But like immediately when she asked that, and we looked at each other, it was like both of our Kundalini energies started activating a little bit. We could feel it. Um, and so that was a message of like, yeah, you gotta, it's like being around in like the experience I had with my friend when he came back from Brazil. It was like there's a certain entrainment of the hearts and the energy fields where it's like, yeah, needing to be around community or be around people that are experiencing something similar or they're somewhere on this journey. And I went to my first time at the Kundalini Yoga Studio. I went to it was a called Invincible Man workshop, and it was just men's work. And I
Mm,
went with my brother, and we
nice.
one of the exercises was sitting across from each other. It
Oh
was
yeah.
saying like, "I love you, I thank you," like, "I love you, I thank you," with our hands looking each other in the eye. And like we had to do it for like, who knows, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It was long.
Probably 31 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first 10 minutes or so, like we're laughing, we're having a hard time really like keeping the eye contact and like, trying to break through just the uncomfortableness of it. But by maybe the 10th or 12th minute, all of a sudden I'm like locking in with him and I start to like feel some like emotions and some tears maybe arise and we're doing it. And then all of a sudden, like as I'm continue his face all of a sudden it was like a mirror and I'm sure this could happen with anybody, but because he's my brother and our genetics are so similar and we have similar structure, like I was literally doing it with myself, like I was saying it to myself and his face kind of became my face in a very trippy way
Yeah.
where it was like, okay, this was another signpost of an affirmation of like this Kundalini yoga and like this space and this energy, like there's serious magic here, and I need to just explore further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you start practicing Kundalini from then on for a while?
A bit. I went back to the studio a few times,
Hmm.
and one of the main things for me that I was working with at this time was trying to figure out the relationship of plant medicine with Kundalini awakening
Hmm.
in with meditation. Um, and so I was experimenting a lot on my own.
Hmm.
I was doing classes, I was still doing the training, but I was spending a lot of time like smoking and meditating, and before sort of my practice with the cannabis was like, commune with this plant spirit and then paint or create and
Right.
move or do yoga because it
Hmm.
got me into my body. And so I like to smoke and practice yoga or smoke and paint. But now I had opened up this whole dimension of like communing with the plant and entering into stillness and silence,
Hmm.
going right into meditation. And
Hmm.
so I could bring my awareness and I could feel all of a sudden my heart rate increase and I could feel the subtleties in my body. And so felt like I was starting to kind of explore and practice some of these things on my own.
Hmm.
Bringing what I was learning in class, but really entering into presence and stillness and syncing my breath with my heart and starting to feel like, oh, you can control your what's the autonomic nervous system. It's like usually it's out, our unconscious is doing these things, but if you can really tune in with your breath, you can actually increase your heart rate. You can decrease your heart rate.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was starting to read about the conscious death and how basically like the whole yoga practice is like we're practicing to eventually be able to stop our heart and leave
Right.
consciously. So I was
Hmm.
reading about this conscious
Like
death and
Yogananda did.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
like I'm a true master,
Yeah.
in realizing, whoa, this is real and like and so I was still dealing with this sort of fear. And on one level, it was like, okay, you're starting to open up these this awareness and this power to even like kill yourself consciously and enter like leave.
Hmm.
And is that something I want to do? Or when if I had that capacity, if I had that sort of, yeah, that control or power, what do I do with it? And do I even want to go deeper into this? Do I even want to have the ability to consciously leave my body on command and never come back? All of a sudden, all these questions were arising, and I was trying to explore, like, could you stop your heart right now, Ryan, in a deep meditative state? Or can you just astral project? Maybe this is really about gaining the capacity to yeah, leave and come back eventually to the point where I leave and I never come back because the body is just, time to shed the body in some way.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I wasn't going a ton to classes, but I was really exploring this intimately and personally
And
and trying.
were you using any specific breathing techniques or what were you doing exactly?
Um, I was doing some like alternate nose breathing
Hmm.
and I was doing some like lion's breath and I was doing yes, like a few different sort of pranayama techniques I had learned in Kundalini yoga and also in my Vinyasa yoga in my training. We did some pranayama stuff. I took a pranayama workshop. Um, but it felt like ultimately like I was getting to a place where it's like I had to drop all techniques. I had to
Mm.
drop, it was like yeah, at that point where it was just all of a sudden the energy was so strong in in the awakening in my heart that was happening was like if my mind came in to be like practice this or do this specific thing, that I would lose the stillness and the silence of the present moment. Um, in the sort of arrival, because it felt like I was yeah really getting to a place to receive the Shakti energy or the divine energy, and that was what was doing the work. So I just had to get out of the way. I had to surrender my mind. I had to surrender all preconceived ideas of technique or anything like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And where did that take you from there?
Yeah. It's a great question because it took me somewhere,
Uh-huh.
sure. Um, what happened is then I fell in love with a woman who was further along on her journey with ayahuasca.
Hmm.
And so, my yoga instructor had asked me, "Have you ever drank ayahuasca?" When I showed him my art, I said no. Literally, the next day, 2 days later, I go to that yoga studio, same studio where I'm doing my training. I take a yoga class with a new instructor I've never taken class with before. And he was a graphic designer for the studio, so he did this mandala design that I thought about getting a tattoo of to sort of consecrate my yoga teacher training to get this symbol of the studio. So I wanted to figure out like who did the mandala design. So I found out, oh, it's this yoga instructor that I just took a yoga class with.
Uh-huh.
So I meet with him after class. Like, oh, I want to ask you a question. I heard you did the mandala design for the studio. I'm thinking about getting a tattoo design. He's like, "Oh yeah, totally. No, that'd be cool." And then I was like, "I'm an artist too. I want to show you stickers of my art. Take out the stickers of my art." Showing it to him. Same exact thing, Peter. He's looking at the stickers. He looks up at me. He goes, "You ever drank ayahuasca?" And I go, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like I'm like, no, but the owner of the studio guy, I'm not gonna name him, 2 days ago said the same exact thing."
Right.
Like, dude, he's like, yeah, it's here. He's like, let me introduce you to somebody. So he's like, I want you to meet this woman who holds ceremony. And so I met with her a few days later. I mean, everything was just like one thing after the next. Everything was just flowing and happening. And I met with her, and she amazing woman. And she asked me some questions, just like, what's your mental health history? She holds like smaller ceremonies, not in um and pretty intimate. And so she just, wanted to check me out, interview me a bit. I told her like a bit about this Kundalini thing that was happening with me because I was like, yeah, I don't know, this is it's crazy energy. I was just a thing I'm going through. I just want you to know about it because I don't know how it will have an effect with the medicine at all.
Hmm.
And so um, everything checked out. She was cool. She invited me. I sat in my first ever ceremony. And I was expecting crazy visions. I was expecting all the stuff I had heard on YouTube about ayahuasca. And it was very different. It was a 2 night ceremony. The first night, barely felt anything. I remember telling her, like, I don't think I'm gonna come back the second night. And she really encouraged me. She's like, oh, I think you should come back. I was like, okay. And so that second night, second glass maybe, I'm still kind of waiting for something to happen, waiting for the bright lights or the crazy this or that. And I go to this healing altar that she's got set up where you can interact with some of the tools on this healing altar. And there's a feather on the
Mm.
altar. And I pick up the feather, and at this point, I don't really feel like I'm tripping. I don't really feel anything crazy. And I'm holding the feather in my fingers, just holding the quill of the feather. It's this long primary hawk feather. And the door is open, and there's like a screen door, so wind could come in through the room. And I'm holding the feather, and all of a sudden, a gust of wind comes in through the screen door. The feather catches the wind, and the feather starts to surf the wind current because I'm holding it just so gently enough where it could move and it could surf the wind. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it was like super psychedelic, but super grounded at the same time. It was like all of a sudden the wind was alive. It was animated, and the feather was animated by the wind, and all of a sudden I was like witnessing spirit move. And
Wow.
all of a sudden it's like, whoa, the ayahuasca is working, but in a way I had never anticipated. Like I was not expecting this very grounded, very visceral, psychedelic moment with the feather and the wind.
Hmm.
Um, and all of a sudden, the what happened was the feather started. relaying through its movement, through all of its attributes with the wind, it started to help me reclaim the masculine energy that I had sort of lost in that fight, in that I
Mm-hmm.
had was abusing growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
so my first journey with the ayahuasca reconnected me to the feather medicine
Mm-hmm.
and reconnected me to the masculine,
Mm.
which I
Beautiful.
hearing about ayahuasca was always the grandmother, and I had never anticipated that it was actually going to show up in this way to help me reclaim my masculinity, reclaim the gifts of my strength, my speed, my certain very animalistic things that I use to control to you like yeah, to compete or to overpower people or to abuse or to control instead of it being of service. And that night all of a sudden I'm sitting in this room, maybe 20 people, and I'm in my early 20s. I'm very strong, all this weightlifting, and I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, if a bear were to walk in here, or like it became this tribe family, and was like if some danger were to come in here, it would be my honor and my it would be up to me to use my physical gifts, these masculine gifts, to protect these people.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden I was like given everything back through this lens of being of service and as a protector. Like all these masculine gifts I was using as an abuser, I got to reclaim as a protector.
Mm-hmm.
And was super beautiful, so unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's
this
amazing.
is the
There's the
tat.
feather.
It's the feather.
Oh wow.
She gifted it to me in the morning. This is almost the size of the actual feather. She
Wow.
gifted it to me, and then I got it tattooed as a reminder of that medicine and that message that came through.
Yeah, for those listening, Ryan has the feather tattooed on his forearm,
Mhm.
covering his whole forearm.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. What a beautiful story to reconnect with the masculine and the feather energy because now part of your art expression is creating feather fans.
Right.
And Ryan's one of the best feather fan makers I know. And we connected. I think this might be a good moment to share how we met.
Yeah.
Because I met Ryan at a NIWA, which is a gathering. This year it was held in Northern California, in the sequoias up there. And yeah, when I saw Ryan, he had a really beautiful booth up with art and some of his feathers and feather fans, and it was just I instantly connected with your work, and I shared some of the feather fans that I've made in the past, and then we exchanged information, and when I got home, I was looking at your Instagram page, and it turns out I had one of your artworks already hanging in my house that one of my friends gave me in San Diego. And I'm like, bro, is this your art? And you were like, yeah, that's awesome. So, and then we have a mutual friend that moved from Chicago to Las Vegas. So there's all these synchronicities and alignments that really, um, I felt really connected to you immediately. So it's been really awesome. And Ryan's an amazing artist with the feathers and with his paintings, and a lot of them are really really deep and really profound.
Mm.
So yeah, I really appreciate all the ways that you share that with the world, brother.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an it's I'm we're in like the beginning stages of our friendship, but I'm really excited for it to evolve and expand from here. So,
Mhm.
yeah, man. So so from there, did you know right away that you wanted to start making fans?
Yeah, so that moment with that feather and the tattoo that I have that I was just sharing about, that that started my re like collecting feathers again. So as a child I collected feathers. I had a three ring binder. Similar to you're saying, you had a binder of your drawings, and like luckily my mom she kept a lot of these things growing up, and so and she helped me put together this binder in which put my feathers in, maybe ages 4 to 10, something like that.
Hmm.
As we would find feathers on our walks, because we lived in kind of a more foresty area, and we'd go on walks or we'd go on vacation to Florida, and sometimes we'd go to some amusement parks or something where they would have parrots, and we'd find a parrot feather or something like that. And so I collected all of these feathers in this 3 ring binder. And so after this ayahuasca ceremony, in this woman gifting me this feather, I called my mom. I said, "Mom, do you still have my feather collection from childhood?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh my God, thank God." And so I I reclaimed this 3 ring binder full of pages with feathers tucked in these like plastic sleeves, clear
Hmm.
plastic sleeves. And so that really reopened up my love for feathers, and reconnected me to the bird totem, because before that I didn't really identify with spirit animals. I loved all sort of animals, maybe more reptiles growing up. Never really super into birds, although I collected feathers as a child. But in this moment, it was like, oh my God, like you're super connected with the birds. And actually, this feels like your main totem in a way. Like you are a bird, you have bird ancestry. And my uncle was a big birder, and he actually collected feathers, and he made like a bird watching, published a book about bird watching.
Oh, wow.
A lot of things started connecting, and me realizing, well, there is some deep connection here with the bird spirits.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I got that 3 ring binder from my mom,
Hmm.
and I did my first trip down to Brazil to continue that ayahuasca path and to that study, and with this girl that I had recently fallen in love with, and so we went down to Brazil together. And when I was in Brazil, I saw some people working with some feather wands or some feather fans, just some, not super crazy, but just doing some smudging at the beginning of ceremony and doing some clearings with them.
Hmm.
And so when I got home, I felt inspired, and I made my first ever 2 feather wands.
Mm.
So now, now I distinguish wands and fans. Wands are
Mm.
smaller, and then fans are more intricate, peyote style from Lakota Native American tradition.
Hmm.
But this was the early on, and so I was just making these fans, wrapping them together with some beeswax hemp. I made one for me and one for my girlfriend. It was really, I never didn't perceive anything beyond that at this point. It was
Hmm.
just felt inspired for me and for her, and those were the first 2 feather wands that I made
And
with
this was
no.
from your collection from the ones you had in childhood.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
so very special because yeah, these were feathers from forever ago, just piecing together what I had in the book, and luckily I had enough to make something that was functional.
Yeah, it's like that inner child connection, it's like and also like from I've been in this journey for the last couple of months, like reconnecting to that innocence and reconnecting to that, like really deeply trying to, for me, it's been like a desire to really connect with where I was as a kid, like that awe that we were talking about, right? That connection with the lands and with nature and just like feeling fully like I could reintegrate that into my adult self again. And for me, it's been like about finding the toys that I liked and reconnecting with the energy that of holding that toy and like trying to like connect into that energy again and looking
Mhm.
at the drawings I had as a kid that I gave my grandma and all these kind of things. It's leading to something like we talked about before, right? It's definitely leading to something, and I'm in that journey right now. So it's been really beautiful. It's like reclaiming some part of me that has been like I've been really good about reactivating that awe aspect and the inner child, but there's something deeper that's trying to reintegrate, which I feel like sounds similar to making a fan that you had as a kid, like, the feathers, and now you're able to use that in your adult life as a beautiful tool, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and I just had another moment like that the other day. I used to make potions as a child. I had like a
Mm,
cabinet, just mixing different color liquids or soaps in different bottles, and just like, felt like a little sort of wizard or chemist. And I remember
alchemist.
the alchemist like crouched down, leaning over this cabinet with potions inside. And just like a couple days ago, I was in the same exact position, crouched in this cabinet. Now it's like I have an altar that in the in the cabinet of the altar is all different types of herbs and salves and medicines of, anywhere from cacao to mapacho to, I don't know, some peyote powder, just a whole pharmacy of different medicines. And
Yeah,
it was like, oh my God, like the same position, same vials, but now there's more function, there's more like these bottles, these potions actually have very profound effects on the psyche, and our real potions are real can activate real magic.
real like
Um,
true medicine. Yeah,
yeah, truly, and a real alchemy. And
yeah.
so it's just, yeah, like reawakening these things that were so innate in childhood, this
Hmm.
playfulness, this magic, and knowing that there was something there, and now as an adult, being able to integrate those things in a functional way, and because these potions have function, these feather fans, I'm continually amazed actually of how functional that they are,
Hmm.
and the way people develop relationships with them, it becomes really, yeah, a relationship of communication of how to work with these tools or with these
Well,
instruments.
yeah, I mean, I want to add that I did end up buying one from you, and when I held that and sat at the river by myself, I felt something that I've never felt before. It was like this was like giving me strength, but also like armoring me. Like spiritual armor is what it felt like. It felt like I was connected so deeply to this piece that you created, and it was just so profound for me. I It's really hard to put into words the experience of it, but it was just this deep connection I felt that, I've experienced with crystals before in a similar way. I've experienced, with things like that, but this was different. It was just like it felt like this was my like this was meant like created for me to like as another beautiful tool, but the what comes to mind is in that cartoon, it's called Thundercats when he has the sword and he holds it and then he can like see into like other dimensions and he can like extend the sword and it can sense evil and things like that. It kind of felt like that, It was like it was just like this power piece and power tool for me that I'm really excited to continue to connect with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's really amazing, man. I truly I've seen and people have shared with me different experiences that they've had with different fans that I've made for them. And some people were like, "Oh yeah, it like talked to me or it like moved, from one place to another, like all these really profound things 'cause just like yourself, I'll put in different crystals and I'll go I usually make custom ones. So I'll sit with the person. What intentions do you want to put into this? What chakras are you really, trying to clear or work with right now? What
Mhm.
spirit animals are you connected to? Like incorporating those kind of aspects. And when it's all put together, that alchemy we were talking about, it becomes something else.
Yeah.
It combines all the medicine together.
Right, right. This is the word synergy comes to mind, where it's like the sum of all the pieces is greater than than each one individually. It's like there's a certain alchemy. There's a certain something new is born with all those pieces that come together in a unique way. That like our intuition. I don't know, exactly about your process, but a big part of my process with making the fans is very intuitive, very holding the feathers next to each other and seeing like, do they want to go together or do they not? A lot of trial and error, and especially the style of wrapping that I do, it's like if the feathers don't want to sit next to each other, like if I go to wrap them tight, they're going to shift. They're going to not like, and I can't force, there's no forcing with
No.
this at all. I mean, especially they're very delicate. They have very unique shapes, very unique temperaments. And so, you just kind of, for me, trial and error until, oh, these gel together. This wants to be with this crystal or this kind of wood is calling because it fits the right shape, the right color. I go to wrap it, it fits perfect or it doesn't. And it's just listening and listening to the point where the final piece is revealed. And then it's got a life of its own. It's got a medicine or a magic of its own beyond what I could have tried to conscious. Sometimes there's more intention, like someone is wanting all water birds or a specific element, and so I'll really intentionally weave that in. But other times it's very much very open and very just listening to what wants to come together.
Yeah, it makes me think about, my teacher, she's part Blackfoot, and she does feather fan, like uses the feathers to heal people. And that's one of the things that I've given her an offering to help teach me how to do that, to move the energy, to cleanse and clear people and their aura and their energy bodies and things like that. So there's a lot more you can do with the fans and the wands than just to sage people, there's many things that continuously are opening up in
Totally.
my reality, at least around it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that the way that I wrap them is I leave most of the time I leave the quill exposed, or at least like the biggest feather in the back has got a pretty sturdy quill. And so using actually the tip of the quill for massage or
Mm,
acupressure, because also it's like if someone is doing sound healing, whether it's gong, playing the guitar, any sort of medicine music, it's like you got the quill pressed into you, and then you got the feather in the air, and the feather is actually catching all the different sound waves, all the different healing
mm,
gong, and the energy is going down the quill in like really focused into the body. And so
wow.
that was one thing that just came through working with it myself in ceremony, doing healing, laying there in medicine or not, and in getting in touch with my body and poking around, and all of a sudden I find a spot and someone plays a song and I can literally feel the feather catching the vibrations and channeling down the quill like an
That's
intent.
so amazing. I never even thought of that. That's
Yeah.
profound. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, and it just came out of sheer, presence and listening. So,
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah,
yeah.
I want to try that now.
Mhm.
Yeah, because my girlfriend and I, we play the gong, and we have gongs at home, and we go to different sound baths all the time. So I wonder what it would be like to have my buddy play the didgeridoo with that. That would probably be really profound.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, that pushes off some pretty strong currents of
Yeah,
vision.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's amazing, man. Yeah, that's really neat. So, I'm just curious, have you ever combined the feathers with your art pieces?
This is something that I am starting to explore more. And
Mhm.
actually, I like just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I really got another strong kind of affirmation and do to manifest a vision of a combination of feathers and the visual art that I'm doing. And even before I started the feather wands and fans, I started drawing and painting a lot more feathers and wings in my art.
Yeah.
And so that kind of was the first expression in some way of the feathers and the painting combining, was just painting wings, painting figures with wings, painting a lot of feathers. Like behind me, you can see some rainbow feathers on the heart here.
Hmm.
And so um, I there's a symbol called a solar wing disc. Egyptian, this is the sun, and then the wings and the snakes around it. I have a tattoo here. I do it a lot, and sort of a lot of my paintings have this symbol. And I've done also some stained glass work. And so I've been kind of envisioning this piece. I kind of want to make a solar wing disc sculpture with actual feathers, and then stain like a stained glass sun, so the light of the sun can come through it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So this would be a bit of a combination of, yeah, sculptural work. There may be a painting element to it, but kind of like, yeah, where 2D and 3D kind of meet.
Hmm.
And so it's definitely an area that I want to explore further. And at Aniwa, I met a gentleman who commissioned a golden eagle painting,
Oh,
and he was
beautiful.
also wanting some feather work or some fan work. So we were trying to figure out, we were exploring this idea of maybe how to incorporate some feathers with the actual painting. So
That's
it's
awesome.
something that's bubbling up to be explored.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like it's in the field. I could also see the painting that I have is of an angel sitting amongst the Egyptian pyramids, and they're kind of like hovering in the air.
Mhm.
And so the image that I had was like attaching some feathers to the angel wings and
Right.
like incorporating it that way. Uh, you could even like tuck them into the canvas so it just kind of like came out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
there's some really cool stuff you could do with that.
yeah, yeah. Thanks again. This is an affirmation and nudge of the universe through you that this is something that needs to be explored further.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Yeah, I'm really excited. So, how maybe we can talk a little bit about um, spiritual community and like how you got involved in the Chicago community and in the global community and for people that don't have spiritual community, what what are some ways that you got connected in there and you know those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, first yoga was a big part of my spiritual community, and that's what connected my art with the ayahuasca path. And so, early on, the yoga community was really important for me. And then that yoga community is also where I met a girlfriend who invited me down to Brazil.
Hmm.
So it was very intertwined, the sort of yoga and medicine community for me at first. Um, and I think what has really sort of been birthed out of that has been the music study,
Hmm.
and in particular the like lineage of ayahuasca that I'm drinking with. It's part of the originated Santo Daime Church,
Hmm.
um, which has a lot of music and a lot of guitar inspiration in it. And the teacher that I have is a rock star, like guitar player who started in Santo Daime, who then kind of created a more open, bringing a lot of other like Sufi and other inspirations into the Santo Daime. So it's not super rigid. And the Santo Daime, I don't know if you're familiar with, but for the listeners, if it's the first time hearing, it was birthed out of Christianity. An African rubber tapper named Mestre Ireneu came from Africa to South America to tap the trees for rubber,
Hmm.
and so he was Christian. And when he was there, he met ayahuasca. And so he created basically a merger of Christianity with ayahuasca.
Interesting. Yeah.
Santo Daime, Saint Daime is actually the name that what they call ayahuasca is called Santo Daime. So you're drinking a saint, you're drinking Santo Daime. And so that's just kind of the lineage that I found myself. I didn't have like a Christian background. I didn't come to ayahuasca through devotion to Jesus or through Christianity.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just aligned in different ways where this is where I find myself and where I'm studying and connecting.
Hmm.
And there's a really strong musical inspiration in
Yeah.
in in this lineage and with my teacher. And so in 2020, I picked up the guitar, like having never really practiced music my whole life, always very visual art. And in order to continue sort of my healing path and just be in support to that space in this lineage of medicine, it was like you gotta learn guitar, you gotta practice this music.
Hmm.
And so through the study of guitar in medicine songs and this whole genre of medicine music, I've been finding a lot of community through the music,
Hmm.
through the shared love of medicine music, and also like at Aniwa, um, like that community there, even though this year I didn't play a ton of music, but like I was there previous last year and I brought my guitar and with my previous partner we played some songs in like being in song circle basically in the community of song circle. So it's not where a musician is on stage and everybody else is listening and you're performing with this style of music and with my teacher in the Santo Daimes, everybody's singing together.
Hmm.
Really about one voice. It's about the choir, and it's
Right.
about merging into the chant and entering trance through dissolving your voice. And you don't realize, but you're also practicing pranayama and mantra, and it's like a whole. Through the act of singing, you're like practicing like all the limbs of yoga almost at the same time without realizing it.
Yeah.
And so singing in circle has really um, built a big part of the spiritual community that I have here in Chicago and in Brazil.
Hmm.
And now I have a new partner as of 6 months ago, where we're playing music together now. She's from Russia originally and then lived in LA, and so we have a lot of connections in LA. And so really like the medicine music world has now become a big part of like what I identify as sort of my spiritual community,
Hmm.
coming together and singing songs together, learning new songs, supporting. I also play drum now, and so it's been really a beautiful part of my journey to to find a supportive role as a musician, especially because I don't feel very confident. I don't like think I have an amazing voice, or I'm gonna be a solo musician, or I'm gonna record an album, or become a superstar, or whatever. This with the music, the music for me is really only to be in support of the space and also like support other people's songs. Like one of my good friends is he's a singer, songwriter, he's writing his own songs, and so now I can support his music on the drum. And I'm just there holding a steady beat, nothing fancy. I don't need to have a lead vocal. I don't need to be seen. It's like, no, someone else is shining, and this is their moment maybe, and I'm here to support them.
I love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Medicine is just that to be of service in that way.
Yeah, it's very humbling, you know. It's just like I'm here to support and create the beat or whatever support the person needs, you know, and not to try to be in the spotlight, which is, you know, for some people that's difficult.
Yeah, and I know for me, or as like a solo visual artist, like all the paintings are like, I don't have to collaborate. It's me in my studio, do the whole painting, and then I post a photo on Instagram, and I want people to see it. I want to be seen, or like I really got to explore a lot of this a lot of this ego games with creativity and art and stuff through the visual art and the years with that. And so it's been really healing and really awesome to come into music, having played out a lot of that stuff with my visual art and just come to music from that place of humility, of not being great, of not being good, of actually sucking a lot at the start and like
Right.
needing to be humble. This isn't about you. And stop listening to yourself. Actually, you play better if you're listening to like the person you're playing with. Like listen to them and just, be in the feeling, be in the vibe, get out of the way. So it's been good. It's been very healing for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think finding, most cities and places in the world have some sort of drum circles in their communities. That's a great place, people can find community. Uh, sometimes the drum circles can be a mixed batch, you
Yeah.
know, of all different types of people, but it's one way. Also like finding kirtans, which is another, really beautiful way to connect in community where everybody's praying through their song, right?
Mhm.
They're singing two different deities, different demigods and things like that. And um, there's also, ways like a lot of yoga studios have larger events and have bigger ways for people to connect. There's a lot of different avenues, and I think the major part of that is setting an intention. You know, it's like if you want to attract community and attract your tribe, just put it out to the universe and then let it go. That's what I did. It's like I really wanted to call in my soul family, and I put out the beacon, the prayer,
Mhm.
and I did it right before COVID, and then they all started showing up, and our community grew to like 300 people where we were meditating every morning at 6:30 a.m. on the beach
Wow.
in Encinitas, California. So, yeah, we did it all through COVID, which was like the perfect time. Nobody
Uh-huh.
was working. Most people were getting that government check, and
Hmm.
we could just like totally live in that little bubble of love and joy, whereas everything else around seemed like it was slipping into chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a beautiful experience for me to see how your frequency and your mindset is what creates your reality.
Mm.
So, being in that love frequency attracted all the right people to allow um, for that experience. So
Hmm.
it was really it was really interesting. So yeah, I think community is really important. It's like community shows us aspects of ourselves that, just a partner or just, your homies can't really bring out. It's a totally different like type of healing, and there's different things that arise inside people when they're being seen and held by community. And it's really beautiful because in that space, people play different roles for
Yeah.
different people, and you can find actually family that's not blood family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. I think it's super important, especially as you're growing and changing. Um, because I feel like, yeah, I mean, if you're growing and changing, which I feel like is cornerstone to the spiritual path, like it's about alchemy, it's about transformation, it's about evolution, and not staying stuck on certain beliefs or in things like that. Like as you grow and change, that your community, that your environment reflects that, and like sometimes for me, it's like, yeah, I have a big family, a lot of siblings, and but certain rituals that we have as a family and things that we're doing are part of like my life before my spiritual journey, or of eating cleaner or not watching maybe certain things that could be disruptive to my psyche, and so like growing out of a community or out of a tradition, a way of doing things can feel frightening, or you can feel alone. And like, so to have, if you can't have that Kundalini awakening conversation with your brother or your dad, or even your best friend at the time who you were really close with, that then like that you do find friends and community that support that transformation. I
Mhm.
think it's super important.
Yeah, I think, in the beginning stages of the awakening, a lot of that a lot of the connections that weren't so deep, like let's say you had drinking buddies that you just go out with on the weekends, like that kind of energy starts to dissipate and leave the field. At
Yeah,
least that's what most people experience, and it's that non-attachment lesson, right? Of like being okay with the surrender of knowing that when I let this go, something more aligned is going to come into my field, you
mhm,
know? And I think that uh, that's a really important point because a lot of people, there's that fear of like, oh, what am I going to do if, I don't hold on to these friendships. But then it's like, no, you actually then attract people that actually see you and feel you and can like deeply connect with you on a soul level versus like more of the superficial connections.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and have that courage to continue to choose like what's calling your heart, like what's inspiring you, and have that faith that you will attract, the right friends, the right sort of support for you.
For
Yeah,
sure.
good to have that encouragement, or like for people that may be in that spot right now where they're like, oh, I no longer can relate to my friends on all these things, like, but I really don't want to do that anymore. Like, have the courage and trust that you'll attract the new support system and new friends.
Yeah, and it happens really quickly sometimes.
Hmm.
Happens really quickly. It's all about releasing the blocks inside yourself of whatever it is you're calling in, whether that's financial abundance or whatever it is. It's all starts internally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Ryan, it's been such an honor to have you on, man. Thank you so much for coming on, and you're always welcome on anytime.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah,
So thanks
thanks.
again, brother, for sharing your journey and your teachings. Until next time, man.
All right, Peter. Thanks so much. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure.